Hello guys, welcome to the video. In this video, we are going to discuss our question, avoid flood in the city. So what we are given, let's understand our problem statement. Our country has infinite number of lakes. Initially, all the lakes are empty, but when it rains over the nth number of nth lake, the nth lake becomes full of water. Okay. So if it rains over a lake which is full of water, then there will be flood. What our task is to avoid flood. Okay, so in the input we are given a rain array that represents that it is going to rain in which lake, on which lake, right? For example, let me show you a few example. Okay, so what we are given is a array, right? So what elements represent is that when rain is going to happen on which lake. So for example, here it is 3, 18, 2, 0, then again 0 and 3. Okay, so what it represents, let's understand. So here the 0th index 3, what it represents is a lake. It represents a lake, like yeah, a lake, right? The lake number is 3. So what is going to happen? Rain is going to happen in this lake. Right. Now again, we got a 18, so it's also a lake number, right? It's a nth lake, 18th lake. Here also it is mentioned that rain is going to happen, right? So the air element represent rain that is going to happen which lake, right? For example, here we got a 2, we got a 2. Then again, it represents that rain is going to happen in the 2th lake. Now, what 0 represents? What 0 represents? Let's understand. So what 0 represent is that there is no rain, that no rain is going to happen, right? And you have a power that you can dry a lake. Okay. But now you must be wondering why there is a need to dry a lake. So let's understand that. So let me show you. So let's say if you are given two inputs, 6 and 6. So what is going to happen exactly? Let's understand. So what it represent is a lake, right? 6 lake, right? 6 is a lake number. So first in the 0th index, rain is going to happen, right? And rain is going to happen, the lake is going to be filled, right? Then again in the first index, rain is going to happen, right? Again in the first index, their index is right 0, 1. So rain is going to happen and it will simply get overflowed. Then flood will happen. So if that's the case, if flood will happen, we have to simply return what? A empty array. We have to simply return a empty array if that's the case. So here, what is our task to avoid the flood? So now, what we are going to do? What we have to return is an answer array. Let's say this is our answer array. And whenever rain is going to happen, we have to write -1 here, right? Whenever rain happens, we write -1 in our answer, right? Here also rain happens, we are gonna put -1. Here also rain happens, we are going to put -1. Now, so what 0 used to do? 0 had the power to dry a lake. Okay. Now you must be wondering which lake to dry. So we are gonna simply dry a lake that is going to get flooded. So here, to avoid the flood, what do you think? Which lake we should dry? Think about it. So here we can see that 3, right? It is going to rain again in the third lake. So here what we are going to do is dry the third lake. So what I'm going to write here is 3 because I'm going to dry the third lake. Are you getting me? And what about this 0? This 0, no need to. This 0 don't need to dry a lake because it is not going to get flooded. So if that's the case, we are going to simply put 1 here, right? And then again here rain happens, so -1. So for this input, this will be our answer array, right? Now let's see some more examples so that you understand the question, right? So let's say we are given an input 2, 3, 0, 0, 2, 3. So let's say, so 2 is our lake number, right? So let me also write the indexes here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So 2 is our lake number, right? So in the 2th lake, we are at the 0 index. What it represents that rain is going to happen and it is going to get filled. So rain is going to happen and it is going to get filled. Now we get to the first index. What we get to know that in the 3rd lake, rain is also going to happen. So in the 3rd lake, let's say this is our 3rd lake, rain is going to occur. Perfect. Now what? We are at the 2nd index and it's 0. That means no rain is going to occur. Also, you can dry a lake. You have the power to dry a lake, right? So you are going to think, what is the most beneficial? What is the most beneficial for you? What will be the most beneficial for you? Which lake you should dry? Okay. Then here we can dry any of the lake. I mean, because 2 and 3 both the lakes are going to get rain again, right? So let's say here we have to simply return answer array, right? Answer array. Okay, let's see. Here rain happened, so we are going to store -1. Here also rain happened, we are going to store -1. And then the 0, what we store, that where we used our power to dry a rain, right? So for example, we use at the 2nd lake, the 2th lake. So we have to put 2 here, then we add the 3rd index. Now this time we use our power to dry the rain for the 3rd lake. So here we write 3. Okay. So after we used power, what happened? The rain vanished. The rain simply vanished. Right. So after we use the power, the rain simply vanished. And now we get to the 4th index again. We have to put -1 here, and here also we are going to put -1. This will be our answer array that we are going to return. Perfect. Let's see some more cases now. Okay, let's see some more cases. So what if we are given array 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So what that indicates, that the 1st lake is going to rain, as well as the 2nd lake, as well as the 3rd lake, as well as the 4th lake. All the 4th lake, this is your 1, 2, 3 and 4, are going to get a rain. So this is going to get filled, this is going to get filled, this is going to also get filled, this will also get filled. But rain is only happening one time, so they will not be flooded. They will not get flooded, right? So what will be our answer here for this case? Our answer will be here -1, because rain happens. If rain happens, you have to simply put -1. Here also -1, -1 and -1. So that will be your answer for this array, as flood is not happening. Okay. And in the case when you can't control flood, as you have already discussed, for example, we got 2, 6, 2, 6, 0, then again 6, 2. Now here, in this case, let's see again. So in the 2th lake, rain happens. Perfect. So this is our 2th lake and rain happens. Perfect. Now we are at the 6th lake, and here also rain happens. Perfect. Now if rain happens, what we have to put in our answer array? Simply -1. Here also -1. Now we are at the 0th index. We are at the 0 value. So we have the power to dry a lake. So which lake we are going to dry here? So let's say we dry the 2th lake this time. Okay. So we dry this lake. Okay. So if we dry this lake, then what is going to happen? We have to write 2 here because we dried the 2th lake. Now we get 6 again. So here our lake was already filled, and if more rain comes, then it's going to simply get flooded. So if it gets flooded, what we have to return? Not this array. You will simply return a empty array if flood happens. Perfect. I hope you did understand. That's what I was trying to say. So I hope that you have understood the question. Now we are going to discuss how we will solve it. Okay. So what's the key point here? That what's our main focus? Our main focus is to avoid flood. Right? That's our main focus. So let's understand that when flood happens. So let's say we got x, right? We got x. X is a number. So if x, if we get x again, so what that indicates, that rain is going to happen, and it will eventually get flooded because we got two times, right? Because it got flooded, it got rained here, then again rain happens, so it got flooded. So in this case, what we were returning an empty RLS, right? So now to avoid our lake from getting flooded, what we need is a zero here, right? What we need here is a zero in the middle. So what this zero can help us with? What this zero can help us with? Drying the lake so that the flood don't happen again. Right? Right. So what we are going to do is something similar. Let's say we got x, y. They are two distinct numbers, and 0 and 0 and x, y again. Okay. So here we get x, right? So what we are going to do is store our x here, right? So that we know that rain happened, right? Rain has already happened in this lake or not, right? Then we get a y, and then we also store y. Okay. We also store y. Why is that? So that we know if rain has already happened here or not. Also don't, also we will keep filling our answer array, right? We will keep answer array. Here it is going to be -1 because rain happens. Here also it is going to be -1 because rain happens. Now we get a 0. That's an interesting one. We get a 0. So what? Let me also write the indexes here. It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we get a 0, we got a special power. Our 0 got a special power that it can dry a lake. But now, at this point in 2th index, we don't know that which lake we are required to dry. What will be the essential lake to dry? Because we don't know that in the future which lake is going to get rain, right? What are the upcoming value? We don't know. So what we are going to do is store the indexes of these, of our zeros, so that in the future we know that we have stored it. So in the future we know that when we need to dry, right, that which lake that we will be needing to dry. So we will store the indexes. So here we are going to store 2, right? We are going to store 2, as well as we get a 3 here. It also have 0 value. So here we are going to store what? We are going to store 3. Perfect. Now let's talk about this. We are at the 4th index. And then we are at the 4th index. What we see that we got a x again. So we check here that we already got a x. We already got a x value. So that means it is not the first time rain is happening here. So if we get a x again, flood is going to happen, right? Flood is going to happen. So now we will be needing what? Now we will be needing a 0. What we want is a 0 to be located in the middle of these x's, right? So how will we get to know? We will simply, right? So first, before that, here what we stored, x our element, and with x what we are going to store. Think about it. It's simple. It's the value we are storing here. It's the value. Besides value, what I need to know that wherever I got my previous x, right? Wherever I got my previous x, whenever the rain happened in the past. So after that, I need to know that whether I got a 0 so that I can dry it. So here I will store the indexes so that I can get to know that when rain happened in the past, in which index, right? So here let's store it. What we had, it's 0 and 1. So then what we are gonna check here, if we got a 0 after my x index, right? Now you must be wondering, we got two zeros here at the second index and the third index. Can we pick any of the zero? Think about it. Can we pick any of the zero? So let's say you pick the third index 0. Let's say you pick the third index 0 to dry your x lake. So can you really do it? No, you cannot. So if you pick this 0, then what? Then whenever y will be needing a 0, it is going to affect y, right? So what you have to do is always pick the first 0, right? I hope that you are understanding how it is helping us to always pick the first 0, right? So what we are going to do is to pick first 0. How we are going to do it? Here we are storing the 0th index, right? So our BS tree, our tree map, right? Our tree map can help us to get just larger value in log n time, right? Our tree set can help us in getting just higher value in log n time. So what we will do is store the 0. We will store the 0 value indexes in a tree set. Perfect. So we are going to store in a tree set, right? So now what I'm going to do is I got x at the fourth index. So this time I'm going to use the 2th index 0. So if I use it, I have to two steps. So here, of course, I gotta remove it from my tree set because I have used it to dry my lake. And here in the 2th index, I have to write for whom I am using it, for which lake. So let's say I am using it for X lake. Perfect. I'm using it for X lake. Right. Now there is one more step I have to do. Right. What is it? So let's say we can get X again, right? We can get X again in the future. We can get, if we dry this time, we can get again in the future. So what we are going to do is update our map. Update our map with what? Yeah, we are going to update our map with this X index. So here it will be, besides X, it is going to be 4. It is going to be 4. And with Y it was what index? It was 1. Okay, perfect. Now what we are going to do? We are gonna, here we don't know, and here what it will be, -1. Now we are at the 5th index, and what we check, that if y is present in our map, right? If we have a lake in where rain already happened, so yes, there was a lake. Now what we need? We need a 0 that can dry our lake after first index. So for that, we will simply ask our tree map whether we got just larger value than the first index. So it is going to give us 3. So what we are going to do is write 3 here because we are using 3. We have to remove it, right? And we are going to simply update our y index, that is going to be 5th index, right? And here we are going to write -1. So that's how we are going to perform our operations, right? Now let's see one more example. I think it's not clear now, so I want us to see one more example, right? So let's say we got x, not x, let's say integer value now. So let's say we got 2, 5, 0, 0, 5 and 2, right? So now let's break it into steps. So what I do, that if I get a 0, I simply put it in my tree set. Agree? If I get a 0, I simply put it in my tree set. Okay. And one more thing. I got an answer array here, right? So what I do, if it is 0 present, so in the tree set I put 0, And then what is the default value? What is the default value? For example, here 0 is present. So you never need to use this 0. So what will you store in our answer? You are going to store 1. That is the default value. So what will you store in our answer array if there is a 0? In the answer array, you are going to store 1. Perfect. Now, if rain happens, then in the answer array, if rain happens, right? If value is not equal to 0, right? That means rain happens. So in the answer array, what we are going to store? -1. Perfect. Now let's keep going and write the cases, right? So what we will be needing is a hash map to know whether it has been laked rain already on the particular lake or not, right? And a tree set. Now let's see what we are going to do. So we are at the 0th index initially. And we see that it is 2. Right, it is 2. So in the hash map, we are going to store our value and index. So we are going to store 2 value with 0th index, right? And in the answer array, we are going to store what? We are going to simply store -1. Perfect. Now we get to the first index. And again, we check if 5 is present in our map. No, it is not present in our map. So we are going to simply put 5 here and its index. Perfect. Now we get to the second index, right? It is -1, right? Now we get to the 2th index. And what we see? That it is 0 present. So if 0 is present, we are going to put its index in our tree set. So we are going to put its index in our tree set. And here, the default value is going to be 1. In the future, we are going to override it when we use it, if we get the chance to use it, right? If we have the necessity to use it, but the default value is going to be 1. Then we are going to override it in the future. Now we get to the third index, again 0 is present. So in the tree set, you are going to add 3. The default value is going to be 1. Now, you are at the 4th index and you see that the value 5 is already present in your hash map. The value 5 is already present in your hash map. So, to avoid flood, what you need is a 0 value after your value index. So you are going to ask your tree set for it. So your tree set is going to check if after first index 0 is present, and then you see yes, a 0 is present at the 2th index. So what we are going to now do is first update this 0 that you are going to use it for what? You are going to use it for the 5th value. So for 5, right? In the tree set, you are going to remove this. Perfect. Here, of course, you are going to store -1 and you have to update. You update the index in your hash map. This index, because there might be a 5 in the future as well. Right. So you are going to update it in your map. It is going to be 4. Perfect. Simple. Now you get to the 5th index. Then again, you check that the 2 is already present in your map. So what you need, you check that 2 is present in which index. So 2 is present in the 0th index. So now what you need is the index, that is if a 0 exists after 0th index. And as we can see, yes, it exists after 0th index in the 3rd index. So what we are going to do is in the 3rd index, we are going to simply override. We are using it for whom? We are using it for 2. Perfect. Here we add -1 and we simply remove it from our tree set. Perfect. And don't forget to update the indexes here. That is going to be 5. Perfect. Now we get to the 6th index, and what here is present is a 0. So if a 0 is present, the default value is going to be 1 in our array. So that will be our answer. Now let's code it. The code is going to be similar to what we just discussed. Perfect. So first we will be needing a hash map to store the lake at which the rain happened and at which index. So of integer and integer. map equal to new hash map. Now we will also be needing a tree set to store our zero. Then when zeros happen, so that we can dry our lake. 0 equal to new tree set. Alright. So what we will also needing a result array, right? That will be the same as the size of our main array, that is range. Now what we do, we simply traverse our array for int I is equal to 0. I is less than range dot length I plus plus, right? So we simply traverse our array. So first step, that what we do if we get a 0. So if range I is equal to 0, that's a simple case. So in our tree set, we simply added index. So 0 dot add, that is the index. And what is the default value when we get a 0? It is 1, as we see here in our case. So the default value we are going to put in our answer array. Answer I is equal to 1. Right. Now the else case. Else case is what? When 0 is not present. Okay. So let's see what we used to do. So if our map already had the element, right, the value, then right, we used to check if our map already had. So we have two options. If our map contains it, right, if our map contains the lake already or not, right, the lake where rain happened, right? So if our map contains the lake where rain happened, we are going to do something, right? We are going to do something. What we are going to do? So now what we need is to find if we got a 0 after it. If we got a 0 after the index when rain happened. So for example, here the rain happened at the 0th index. So what we need is a 0 after all. So for that, the tree set is going to help us. Okay. So integer, next I'm using this integer here. You will get to know why. Integer next zeros, that is my tree map zeros dot higher. Just higher map dot get range I, which is storing the index, right? The lake index. Now, if next is equal to null. So if next is equal to null, what I mean here is that if there is no 0 present, so this integer, it can hold a null. So if no 0 is present, so we are going to simply get null. So what that indicates, that flood is going to happen because there is no 0 present that can dry our rain. So if that's the case, we are going to simply return new int 0, array of 0th index. Right, and for the other cases, if next is not equal to null, right, then what we have to do, that means we are utilizing our 0, we are utilizing our power, right, to dry a lake. So we have to add it in our answer that we are using 0 for which lake. So the lake number range I. And also if we are using a 0, we have to also remove it from our tree map. Zeros are removed. Next. Perfect. Now if map.contains key, we did this, right? Now what if map don't contain it, right? If map don't contain it, then of course we have to simply add -1 here. What if rain happens in our result? We simply add -1, and we also have to put it in our map dot put range I, the lake at which rain is happening, and its index. Perfect. And we simply return result. Okay, let's overview our code and see if it's fine. Okay, so what we did is create a hash map to store at which lake rain is happening, right, and the index of it, and a tree set so that we get 0 in log n time where rain is happening. Then we get a resultant array, we traversed it. If range I is equal to 0, we simply add it in our zeros. zeros. It's zeros here. That is our tree map. And here also it result I, we simply put 1 because the default value is 1 as we discussed. And default value, if we don't use a 0, it is going to be 1. So if we checked if map contains here a file, then we have to stop it because flood is going to happen. Right? So what we derived is the 0 value that is after our old rain lake index, right? So if we get a 0 value, then we do some task. If we don't get it, we get a null. So we simply return an empty array, right? If we get it, we simply remove it from our 0 because we have used it, and then we also add in our resultant array that we are using it for which lake, right? Here what we did, we simply put if rain is happening, then we in the resultant array we put -1, right, and put in our hash. Now let's try running it. So there is an error. So in which line? In 9th line. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's array, so bracket here. Perfect. Accepted. Now let's try submitting it. Submitted. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, do not forget to like, comment, and share. Thanks for watching.